All right. We're going to dive right in. Thank you, brother. Today, like I said, the hope is it will be more interactive, getting lived experience in the work from folks who've done the work, whether you've done it here or done it somewhere else. You've got experience, and that experience is valuable. And whether it was a positive experience or a negative experience, it's a learned experience. And if we're paying attention to the feedback we get from the experiences that we have, from the decisions that we make, then we're moving forward in a healthier direction. So again, I want you to lean in, be completely present, and feel comfortable providing insights that you believe, I guess this would be the rule, that you believe shed light on how to take a core competency that we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about several, to another level of help and support to the brothers and sisters sitting next to you in the room as they navigate, as they negotiate, working in the communities that they work in. The first one we're going to dive into is building trusting relationships. Those trusting relationships are critical. I think before I do that, though, I want to be quick around ground rules. Does anybody need a reminder? Oh, we got it. So building trusting relationships. The question I have is, who's done it? Who's done it successfully? And you don't have to raise your hands, but here's the question. What does that look like? What would you say are, for those of you that have done it successfully, for those of you that, believe that what you've learned in doing it successfully can be helpful to others who need to understand and better facilitate building healthy relationships? Talk to me. What are the elements that come to mind in terms of, and try to put yourself in the space of, here's a young man, a young woman who is, mindset is skeptical, suspicious of you, has been failed. I mean, the whole gamut of what a fellow represents, and quite frankly has the mindset of fuck you and fuck your program. How do you go about building a trusting relationship with that individual? What works? Hold on. Let's go. Marlon?
Consistency.
So consistency, what does that mean?
That means always show up, always keep your word, be consistent in this life, be present.
Right. So consistency. And what Marlon said, showing up, being present, doing what you say you're going to do, sort of being relentless in your pursuit of the individual. D. He took it? Yeah. Does he always do that to you? Yeah. Will.
I want to jump back on that one, right? But only for a second. I'm usually late, unless it's something like real important, like court or something like that. Like, I'm always late.
Okay.
I leave early, I'm just always late, right? They know I'm consistently late. I'm gonna be there. I'm late. On some real, because it ain't about always, like, consistency is just that. And so, like, man, bro, gonna be here and shit, man. Like, he ain't gonna have us sitting out here, like, forever. But you calling 2, 3 in the morning for some Taco Bell and shit, man, and he tell you 20 minutes, it's probably gonna be an hour. But he got you and shit. Like, that consistent thing, they calling me now, or last night, like, bro, it's that time. This is when we talk our shit. So
Yeah.
I'm talking shit.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a real thing.
Yeah, but people know you're going to be there.
I'm gonna be there, but I'm probably gonna be
20 minutes late. Can you share a little bit with us what that's about? Why you always late?
I hate leaving. So when I get somewhere, like, I mean to be going, but like, I just don't. But once I get somewhere, I don't like leaving. So, wherever I'm at.
Even at 3 in the morning for a Taco Bell run.
Yeah, definitely not 3 in the morning for a Taco Bell run.
Okay.
But that's what they are.
I love the idea that folks know, Will said he'll be here in 20. We all know he's going to be 30, 40 minutes late. Okay. Good stuff. Anybody else? Yes.
Over in Pomona, we have God's Pantry, and there's a lot of different things that goes on in God's Pantry. And those who have visited God's Pantry, y'all seen some of the things that happen in God's Pantry. Well, with some of the security companies that I work for, I have the opportunity to bless people to come to SoFi Stadium, to the Coliseum, to the Rose Bowl, and work. So whenever God Pantry allows me to tell a bunch of youngsters, whether they're females or males, as long as they're over 18, is they can come with me to those places and work. I can tell that once they go there and I show them around SoFi Stadium, or I show them around the Coliseum, and then they find out that I done been to prison multiple times, but I done turned my life around, I see that they will ask me for my phone number and want to call me and ask me certain stuff because they guess they would see, well, if he didn't went to prison all these times and now he's showing us around the football stadium and he has a job there working, then we can listen to him and we can trust what he says.
Okay. Yes.
There's somebody that they can trust and confide in, and know that whatever they tell you, it's not gonna go nowhere else. You're not gonna hear it from somebody else.
So demonstrating trust. It means I'm going to tell you something and I'm going to see where it goes, right? Or I'm going to tell you something and see if you not only listened to me, but you actually heard me, right? Do you all know the difference between listening and hearing? What is the difference? It's a critical piece to building a trusting relationship. Yeah.
Sometimes when you hear something, it can go in one ear and out the other. But if you're listening, you'll take it in.
Yeah, and you do something with it, right? You actually, oh, hey, I'm feeling healthy. Doing something with it is the critical piece. Thank you. Yeah, let's give it up for these technicians. Yeah, let's give it up for these technicians. Okay, all right. So, thank you. So, yeah, you want to do something with it, right? A quick story. When I was at Lansing Eastern High School, it's a teacher of mine by the name of Clyde Ethington. Clyde was also a coach, and he really worked hard to develop a relationship with me and had success in doing it. And one of the things that in my sophomore year, I wasn't thinking about any other college other than Michigan State, which is right down the street. And quite frankly, wasn't really thinking about that at that time. So when Clyde asked me, and he asked me in a certain way, he said, so where are you going to go to college? This is after a time of having to discipline me for just being a clown in his class, which Clyde didn't tolerate, and he was a big dude. He said, where are you going to college? Now, the way he asked me was, you're going to college. Where are you going? And I didn't say Michigan State. Freddie Du Bois was on his way to Morehouse College. So I said Morehouse. I didn't know shit about Morehouse College, right? And so sometime later, Clyde brings me an envelope with my name on it, Lansing Eastern High School, Lansing, Michigan, 489 something. And it was from Morehouse College. I didn't ask for that. I just had said it. He knew I didn't know what I was talking about, but he ordered the application package just so I had it. That, believe it or not, that has stuck with me. Because not only was he listening and hearing, he did something with the information. You guys are going to have a lot of information coming at you. It's important that you hear, that you listen, and that you show them, demonstrate to them that you were listening and hearing. It can be subtle things. One of the things I like about Nick Saban, many of you know Nick Saban as championship-winning football coach. When he's recruiting, and believe it or not, he came out to a game I played in against Everett. He was the Michigan State defensive back coach at that time, before he went to become head coach at Toledo. Nick Saban will tell you that when he is recruiting, and he is big on recruitment, he gets as much intelligence about the players that he wants to bring into, well, when he was at Alabama, as he possibly can. because he wants to use the information. So for example, he tells this story about one of the recruits ate cereal all day long. And it was a particular kind of cereal. I want to say it was Fruit Loops. And he said, you know, there were times when he'd get on the phone with this recruit and it would be something as simple, did you just finish, asking him, did he just finish eating a big bowl of Fruit Loops? And the recruit would be like, how the fuck you know that, right? But it's just those really simple, subtle things that can make a huge difference in drawing someone close to you, right? I mean, just as simple as, I know you eat Fruit Loops for breakfast. I know you eat it for lunch and for dinner, right? And so I'm gonna ask you about it. So, shit, I might even bring you a couple boxes, right? You know, those kinds of things are important to building healthy relationships, yes.
It's like with fellows, I feel like you just gotta build like a bond, like a family bond. Like as if you as if you really is, like they really start to really think that you really are their family.
How do you do that? Because that's real talk. How do you get someone?
Find out what they like.
Find out what they like, yes.
You gotta be vulnerable.
What does that mean?
Allowing yourself to be hurt by them, but then knowing how to rebound from it at the same time.
So you say vulnerability is critical, and I agree with you, and I appreciate you for putting that on the table. It is important, everybody, and it's a tough thing for us to be vulnerable, to be willing to give our all, to kind of be all in and be dumped on, to be lied to have someone die, and have your heart ripped apart. And to be able to, that recovery piece. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about the recovery piece from your experience. To be able to grieve. Give yourself the time to grieve, but also pay attention to the feedback so that you can jump right back in. Because what we do most oftentimes is when our hearts are ripped apart, and some of you all have had that happen in relationships. I mean, I've heard myself, my mind talk, say, fuck giving somebody my bank account number again. I mean, I thought we was getting married. I go to the bank and all my money gone. I won't do that ever again. Right? Or, you know, I've heard women who've been through just traumatic relationships, when they finally get out, I'll never do that again. Let me just put it on me. I've dated a woman who went through a traumatic relationship. And when we started dating, man, I had to jump through some hoops, and I'm like, I didn't do shit to you. But she, like we do, you're gonna have to jump through some hoops that the past never had to jump through. Because what? I'm never going to let this happen to me again. Right? I'm never going. But how do you go from that to, I gotta jump all in? Because the moment we put these shells up is the moment we keep away from us the possibilities. And I'm looking at Joy, look at me like, shit. And I may be wrong about what she's thinking. I'm just saying it. You know, for example, you get your heart broken by someone who you love and care about, and to say that you're never going to do certain things again and you get into a relationship again, you're keeping some beautiful stuff away from that next relationship. And that very stuff you're protecting and keeping away from that relationship keeps that relationship from becoming everything it possibly could, which could be magic. And we do it all the time. And our excuse is, fuck, I'm not letting that happen to me again. How have you overcome vulnerability?
To be honest with you, because I'm a pastor, I have to have a spiritual relationship with God, which is strong enough where, and this is for everybody who don't have a relationship with God, where you can go to God or whomever it is that you pray to and lay yourself out there and say, Lord, this hurt like hell, but can can I overcome this to help somebody else? As a pastor, I ain't gonna lie to you, most people never really understand or see what pastors go through. But forgive my language, but pastors been shit on like crazy. Only to have people turn away from you, call you ain't shit, but then you still got to turn around and help somebody else.
It's good peace. Good peace.
Yeah, I love the analogy in comparison of pastor. Pastors are shepherds. You are a shepherd in this work. This is a mission field. Yes, Joy, please. Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah.
How was that recovery for you?
And he said, where's that one of these in Stockton? And he said, we had left and I had got the call outside. Came in, went up there, told the team, let's go home, start crying. It's like, I don't even know. You still got to go back in and do the work. You know, it's like, and this was the good one. Like, Riso was out there robbing people and sticking people up, taking people guns. And we had got him all the way to where now he was working at a McDonald's. Out the way, doing his own little cool little shit. Just had a baby. Baby was 2 weeks old. He in the car with his girl. Police stopped him. He thought he had a warrant. When they told him he had a warrant, he jumped out the car and ran, jumped in the canal and drowned.
Wow.
Come to find out he didn't even have a warrant.
Whoa.
Yep. Yep. So,
It can be difficult to recover from. Has anyone ever lost a child?
that too.
Yeah. Has anyone ever lost a child and you had living children? And understand, those living children, they understand your grief because their sibling has passed on. But when you go down that deep, dark hole from that loss, which is understandable, your living children are left to wonder, well, what about us? I'm still here. And I can tell you that's how your fellows are going to look at it. Grieve. You should. You have to. It's traumatic. It's real. But I'm still here. Yeah.
I think that's why you have a team,
Yeah.
so that you can grieve, because we lost a fellow, in our city, and we told, the lead NCA, like, we got you, we gonna pick up this, we gonna do this, you just take care. But he was in a really sticky situation because he had the father as his fellow and his son, who was just killed, as his fellow. So he's trying to help his father grieve while also trying to grieve the son he was also the lead NCA for. So he didn't really have, like, it's a year later, and every now and then it'll hit him like, I lost my fellow. So I think it goes, at least we've seen it where we're like, we'll be like, okay, we got you this, like, take it off, or we'll take his, our other NCAs will take the lead on the father so that they could take it off of him, so that he could have some time to breathe and, like, process his relationship with him.
Was it through gun violence?
It was through gun violence. So when we found out too, I was the one who let him know it was his fellow who was lying in the middle of the street. He didn't even know it was his fellow. He was out there saying, he was saying, man, where's this kid's family? There's no family out here. And I called him, I said, hey, your fellow, this is actually your fellow who's on the street. And he basically was like, I guess I was his family who was there while he was the only person there.
So now we are left with the job of reaching out to the person that did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had fellows kill other fellows.
Yeah, we knew who, we actively got on it.
So it's like, how do you, I guess, emotionally get through that? That sounds awful.
Our team, we come from different sides of the town, so other people who are from their neighborhoods was able to We have therapists too, and even though we didn't take advantage of it at that time, we all processed it together. And also, like, we helped the funeral, like everything. We planned his funeral, we helped assist in everything. We stood by the family side by side, so that was his way of also grieving and by supporting. But we don't do one-sided mediation, and we understand that.
And you never get over it. You never get over it, right? Nuri, I don't think he would mind me saying, he's very open about it. So we have a program strategy manager from Stockton, where Jasmine works. His son was in the fellowship. His son was killed last year. He's the program strategy manager for Stockton, right? And so you don't get over it. That never happens. But you learn to deal, adjust, and to figure out how to allow yourself to be vulnerable. Again, you have a team around you. You take the time required and necessary in the short term, in the short run, near term, to get the kind of help that you need. You ask yourself, I mean, I shared with you all yesterday, when my brother was killed, I had already made the decision to come home, back to California and be done. And without running into Eric, I don't know if I'd be standing here before you guys today. But yeah, I think it's important because there's just that other dynamic. And Joe, I'm glad you asked a great question. When you have fellows, or one NCA has a fellow, another NCA has a fellow, or you have two fellows on your assigned caseload, and one kills the other. I mean, it's like, it happens. And how do you go from I'm so angry, I'm broken, to dealing with this cat who actually we know did it? Anybody got that experience? And sometimes it's hard to talk about. I know some folks in here got that experience, but the question becomes, and I'm glad it's here in the room, it's weighted. This is one of those things where you have to ask yourself, knowing that the probability of it coming, because shooters do what? Shoot. Is this for you? Because most of the folks that have left on their own, this is why they leave. It becomes too heavy. And you have to ask it, because this is life coming at you, yeah.
So with that being said, and on the topic of vulnerability, she mentioned the therapist.
Yeah.
Bro had spit about it yesterday too. He was like, each city will have, psychological therapists and things like that. In the event, or when you do lose a fellow, is there almost like, when the police shoot somebody, you gotta sit down for a minute, let us figure this out. Do you demand like, hey, check in, man? You know what I'm saying? Like, as protocol, to go check in, go talk to somebody real quick. Is that a demand or is that a recommendation?
Well, it's a demand. Now, obviously, we can't make that happen, right? But it's a demand. It is a best practice, right? Sit down, get some help, right? Yeah.
I knew you kind of picking on me a little bit, for me to talk. But when we started in Sacramento, it was the first city, AP city, and like everybody else, the fellows were skeptical, right? Police and all that stuff, right? So we just getting off the ground. It's the first AP city, and we had a deadline to start racking in fellows. But like I said, y'all heard my story yesterday, all the fellows were on my teams, right? So the first fellow who jumped out was my nephew. You know what I mean? He's like, I got you. I know you ain't no police. and he was a hitter in the city, right? Young, little, call him a little sharp, a little great white. He pushing too hard, a little stocky, beating people up, taking their guns and all that stuff. But then go to work every day at the bank with a suit and tie, right? And then as soon as you get off work, he in the field cutting up. I got a couple phone calls like, man, get him, man, he out here tripping. So I called him to the house and they're like, man, you gotta stop doing that, man. They was about to blast you the other day, but dude, they already knew who he was, so they let you go. Like, I ain't worried about these cats. Then about a week later, I'm at home, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear this boom, 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 boom on my door. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm on parole still, so I ain't got no heat in the house or nothing like that. I'm thinking it's it. These niggas can come kick my door down. But I jumped out because it just woke me up out of my sleep. My wife woke her up and my heart pounding because I don't know what to do. I got a big ass samurai sword by my bed. I grabbed the sword. I'm like, if they come through here, I'm gonna just go out fighting. But then I looked at my cameras and it's my daughter. She was about 17 at the time. It was my daughter. She's pounding on the door going crazy, which I don't understand because she got the code to the doors to get in. And so I run out to the living room, open the door, she falls through the door and she got blood all over her, right? And I thought she was hit. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I'm still trying to wake up. I look, and she's like, they shot Frankie, they shot Frankie. I'm like, what the fuck you mean they shot Frankie? Now, when Frankie came to the program, everybody else started following in because they know if he fall in, everybody gets good. So we go to the hospital. Me and my dog would jump in the car, go to the hospital. When I get up there, it's about 100 kids in the parking lot. They're going crazy. The police, it's hella police. They fighting with the police fight. So I'm just automatically, the instincts go in and try to mediate, like, hey, what's going on? And all this. And they're like, who are you? And I'm trying to explain to them. And I look up and they're snatching my daughter up. Like, come here. They fighting with her. And I'm going up. And I just got through watching that CP5, that Central Park 5. So my mind is like over there. So I'm like trying to go help her. And they start wrestling with me and my daughter, we fighting in the parking lot with the police. They put us in the back of the police car, put us in handcuffs. But at that time, I had called my team already on my way, called my team, called my resources, my pastor. I called everybody, like, man, I'm going to the hospital. This is what happened. So everybody's getting out of bed, coming up there. And one of my coworkers, one of my other NCAs, he pulled me to the side. He was like, hey, what's your name? Shot me. I'm like, what? He's in our fellowship as well, right? And we get the backstory of what happened. Frank was out there again beating people up in the middle of the parking lot at nighttime and taking guns. And when he turned around to go to the car, they shot him in the back. And my daughter was standing right there, so she picked him up, put him in the car to take him to the hospital. And when she's backing out, going, they thought he put himself in the car to go to the hospital. They shoot the car up and miss my daughter's head. She crashed into the house. The car catch on fire. And she still made it to the hospital because I was wondering why her feet were burnt up. And she got to the house like, what the fuck is your feet on fire for, burnt up? Right? But that was the story. So he in the hospital, and then a week later he died. Then when we have fellows who get themselves in certain situations, murder, shooting, or whatever, we try to figure out what we're gonna do with him. Like, no, you can't be out here, you gotta get out of town, what we're gonna do, we need to get you a trip out of here. Like, so I'm in the office every day looking at my NCA and he's helping this dude get out the way. And my mind is like, I can't be biased in the situation because I gotta stick to the mission at hand is, this is what we do in the community, right? And it was eating me up. Like, I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence back and forth because I want blood. I need 2 people to die tonight in my head, right? But I can't put that energy out there because my little homies, all the little homies, everybody like, what we doing, Unc? I'm like, just hold on for a second, just pause. And to this day, I still get pushback on that because it's like, man, you put the pause button on it. We could have knocked a couple of them niggas. And I'm like, that's not what we do though, you know what I mean? So, long story short, nobody ever got hurt from that situation and it was supposed to go up big. The funeral was off the hook. I had to call the Richmond team in, come and help because the funeral was large. Did I want to see a therapist? No. Because I grew up all my life seeing therapists and counselors. It just didn't work for me, right? So I didn't see one. But I'm looking at my NCA every day in the face. He can't even look me in the face. He won't even look at me, put his head down every time because he knows what it is and he's helping his fellow get out of town, get him to safety. And it's eating me up, like, you know what I mean? But I didn't take time off. I didn't see a therapist. I just raw dogged it, right?
Raw dog every day. So it was a painful thing, but we ended up getting through it. We stuck to it, and sometimes you'll hear him share the story too. We both share that story because this actually happened in real time, where one of our fellows killed another fellow. This was my nephew. He's not my blood nephew, but it's my son's cousin. I raised him since he was a baby. It's my baby son. This is blood cousin. So my son's feeling some type of way about this. I got to watch his emotions. You know, the family's tripping. Everybody's going crazy. They want to tear the city up, but I'm holding them back. Like, nah, we're not. Let's just calm down for a second. And which everybody was tripping off me doing that. You know what I mean? Because usually it's a green light. Push the play button. Let's go. So we got through it. We did the film. We got through it. I think only thing that ever came out of that was somebody got the boy that he actually socked out that night. He ended up going to the county jail. My daughter pushes a play button and they scraped him up. They beat him bad up in the county jail. You know what I mean? I got phone calls like, man, your daughter's pressing play buttons and stuff like that. And I just, had to talk to her like, don't do that no more because you're gonna cause something. So, long story short, we got through it. I didn't see a therapist. I didn't take time off because I couldn't take time off because I got to be in my ear to the streets. I got to figure out what's happening. I got to bring the information back to the team. I had to trust my teammates with the information I'm bringing back to the table. It was not going to go outside of that table, right? In which it didn't. Our team was solid when it came to the confidentiality. And, me and him had to have talks. The team had to mediate because it was like, bro, you're wearing it on your face. Like, your looks, if looks could kill, he'll be dead 10 times. And I was like, I know, I'm just bear with me, you know what I mean? So he's not tripping though. Dude, he's a good dude, you know what I mean? He wasn't even on that type, he's not even like that, so he's not on that type of time. But he had to do his job. His job was making sure his fellow got out the way because if his fellow still stayed in town, I don't know if I was gonna be able to hold these guys back, you know what I mean? But them knowing he was gone and nowhere around kind of put things at ease.
Freddie, a lot of nuggets there. What I want you, particularly that last one, his peer had to do his job. Your peer will have to do their job. Your emotions, Freddie had to, and he did it by himself with his team and support, had to deal with the emotions, particularly as it related to that team member doing his job. Now, Freddie, at that point, you're how old in the advanced piece work in terms of, had it been a year?
1 year.
1 year into the work. Now you're several years into the work. What would you say about what you learned in terms of, let me ask the question differently. How would you advise folks around the counseling, the therapy, et cetera, today?
I would definitely recommend it. Don't try to take that on by yourself. I'm from a different cloud, where I grew up under a different umbrella, so like I said, I think you heard me mention yesterday, I'm numb to a lot of that shit, you know what I mean? So I just knew in my head, our job is to wedge retaliation, number of bodies drop. So I just had to keep putting that in my head, like, stay biased. And then I had a support team too, I had a system. You gotta have a support team. I was gonna go over that with you guys later on, like, you have to have a support team, man. Your wife, your mother, your kids, somebody, they got to support you in this work because you're gonna go through some emotional roller coasters and you might snap if you don't got it in you. You know what I mean? I'd recommend see a therapist. I'd recommend that you gotta sit down with your team and share these things. And if you feel some type of way, it's okay to take off. Like take self-care, take off, man, and get it together. If I could rewind that, I would have did it. Now that I rewind, I would have took off to detach myself from the situation because the more I was hearing and the more I'm hearing to try to work, because you got to bring that to the table and get this fellow out of town, I could have easily took that information out to my little homies, my community, like, hey, he about to be over here, y'all do what y'all do. But I didn't, you know what I mean? I just, stayed solid 10 toes, like just remember our job is to help what just happened and making sure nobody else die after that or no more shootings happen after that. Because if I would have just raised my hand and said, y'all go, the shootings, our numbers would have went up like crazy. You know what I mean? And then we probably would have been out of a job next funding, next negotiation with the contract. So I had to, like all these things are running through my mind. And then I'm not the type of person where I share my feelings like, man, I don't pillow talk with my wife, I don't do none of that. So I'm just holding all this in. And it took, and even today when I still talk about it, right the day before I came here, I was with Little Parmas and his son, Little Frank, come running up, Uncle, let me get a couple dollars, you know what I mean, his daughter, and, you know, the baby mama right there, man, whoop, and all this stuff, and I was just looking like, damn, man, like, so I still, you know, to this day, I still be feeling some type of way, but I'm past it, you know what I mean, and, you know, we made it out that situation, and it was hard, it wasn't easy, it was hard, but you definitely gotta talk. You gotta open it up about it, because if you hold that shit in, man, that shit could blow up. And if you're not cut like that, if you're not built like that, you could, you know, fuck around and crash.
The other fellow, did he understand, or did he change his life with the support of the fellowship?
Hell no, he's still out there right now cutting up. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's still out there right now cutting up. And I've seen him a few times. You know what I mean? He tried to come up, shake my hand. I just was like, you know, like, what's up, you know what I mean? And my thing was, nephew, you got yourself killed. They didn't just run up on him and kill him. He was out there socking people out. He took the gun, he took his homeboy's gun. They were scared of him. Like, they was really in fear of him, you know what I mean? So when he was walking back to the car, they shot him in the back. He didn't even know. So in my head, and I just got through telling you a week before that, stop doing that shit. Because they was about to peel him off a week ago. You know what I mean? And I live with that. I'm like, I got it. Like, you got yourself killed. You know what I mean? Doing that stuff.
Did you, so when this happened, kind of identify with what you were saying about, you just kept going. Because it sounded like in a situation that had you took a step back right then, say you just removed yourself from the whole situation, took the time to go get yourself together, somebody could have got killed. Because everybody's looking at you, and I've been there. Everybody is looking at you, what you gonna do, whatever. If you don't hold them back, it's gonna be more blood on the street.
Definitely.
So, in that situation, Brother Devon, how can the person in that situation leave the team or leave it all alone at that point? Because everybody's looking to you. If you're the uncle, if you're the dad, everybody, my whole family, my family, my friends, everybody, homies from back in the day, everybody, whatever you want to do. Everybody looking to see my energy when my son got killed. So I couldn't just disappear off the scene. I had to show a public stance of, I don't want nobody else to die.
That's why this ain't a walk on. Sometimes you can't take it. May not be ordered, but sometimes you can't take it down.
Nah. Like I said, you got to be built a certain way to stay in that ring. You know what I mean? Like, I see people fold. Some people ain't built like that do this work. You know what I mean? Like, I see people fold and pull out. They couldn't take it and disappear. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be cut a certain way, man, to stay in there. And I think it built me up more to do the work that I do. Like, if I would have took a step back and like, oh, go ahead, I wouldn't have been able to feel those feelings or identify how that feels when stuff happens in certain cities. So I would be able to come in and help. I'd still be over here. You know what I mean?
You got to take the time. It's a tough call. But you're giving me your gun and your badge. Now, that said, because that's the healthy thing to do. And a part of what we do is modeling. It's an excuse to say that's why sometimes you can't do. No, you can do. Now, it may need to be choreographed, organized, and managed, but you got to take the time. You got to take the time. You can't be 100% go, because you're not. You may think you are, but you're not. See, I lived through that with him too. And I was detached because I wasn't as close. And I can tell you, you got to take the time. Built are not built. You're fooling yourself. You got to take the time. And your mind and your ego, and trust me, ego, and your emotions and your compassion, that's all important. But you got to be strong enough, because that's what it's about, being strong enough in that kind of moment to take time. Now, I'm not saying completely eliminate yourself, but your team, you got to find a way to be disciplined enough to listen to wise counsel. Your leader, you all need to choreograph, I'm using that word deliberately, and strategize on the issue you bring up. How do I do that? And still do what needs to be done to deal with what's going on. To just blanketly say, and for leaders to just blanketly allow, because he said, I got to do it. I got to do it. See, when I was doing this, that's the other thing. When I was doing it, and I'm going to tell you, in government, you're going to take time. And more times than not, that was the right call. People didn't like it. And I always knew, too, they was out there moving and, you know, when I had to say, hey, you got to take time. Because in government, that's just what's going to happen. You got to take the time. You got to be disciplined enough to be strong enough to take the time, too. You got to be disciplined enough and strong enough and see that it's so difficult in the moment. Because I've been to where the emotions are in losing someone. You got to be strong enough in the moment. And this is just a seed planted, this conversation that hopefully you can tap into as a part of whatever's going on in that moment to help you make healthier decisions. Because in the moment, it's that squeezing again. Who are you when you get squeezed? What are your sensibilities when you get squeezed? Right? It's a difficult thing, I know. And my tone goes to where it goes because the expectation is that you are going to do the right thing. Will you do the right thing? I'm letting you know what the expectation is. And I'm letting you know, too, that I understand the difficulty of meeting that bar. But I'm also telling you, because I'm compelled and responsible to tell you what's best for you and the work. And that's, again, about understanding it's bigger than you. It's bigger than that moment. Ooh, swallow that. Swallow that. Long game. Not short game, long game. Long game. And that's a decision. We're not going to win every one. Nobody does. No team wins every game. What are we going to do the next time? How do we prepare for the next game? Yes.
Because like you said, you still got these other.
Damn right. Damn right. And that's the thing, folks. Everybody's watching what you do in that moment. That's why I give you the line to get some choreographed things to do. But to just blanketly will, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. That's not responsible. That's not strategic. Think. I mean, in that moment, you got to grab yourself, and somebody else on your team got to grab you. And you got to accept that grabbing. Vulnerability. That's where we started. And here's where your mind has to go. It's stronger to do this, not weaker. Because your mind is saying it's weak. It's a weak move. It's a weak move. No, it's a strong move to be able to, That's a strong move. And to put yourself in a space where, okay, we now have to be surgical. We now have to be surgical. You don't want a doctor coming in, got to do what I got to do. No, I want you to be surgical. Fuck that. Fuck that. Just give me the knife, the scalpel. No. Do we need that? I want you to know that's what we need to do. Right? No, we have to be surgical. These are game-changing moments in the middle of the game. Got to be surgical. And again, that is why that big question at the end that will come up when Freddie and Mo close things out, this is why you got to go back and go, maybe I should go build a house for Habitat for Humanity. Maybe I should go to the Boys and Girls Club. Maybe I should, and that's good shit. This requires something very different. This is why you come. So I don't know sometimes if you get what I'm giving you back at the house about what this is and what this ain't. And I want you to be prepared. To be prepared. So when you see it, when it happens, this is what it is. So I'm going to go through these. I think our discussion was very rich and richer than anything on here. But just some things to note, in building, and we heard this, listening, being able to empathize with the folks that we're working with, being present, we've talked about that. Respecting boundaries. And I really think in part, in terms of what our last part of the conversation was about, was that one. It was about being vulnerable, but it's also respecting internal boundaries that you have to respect if you're going to remain healthy, because you have to be healthy and remain healthy to do this work in a healthy way. And sometimes that gets lost in emotion on a lot of playing fields. It's about how do I maintain my health to do this work in a healthy way? Because, Marlon, there are other people out here that still are here that expect that, desire that, need that, and deserve that. From you. From everyone in here. You are not here by accident. No one's going to do it like you do it. That's why you are necessary and why you have to fight to be healthy and to do the healthy thing, not the popular thing, not the easy thing, and the easy thing can be running into the fire. But the healthy thing, long game. Consistency and reliability, we heard that. Showing up, doing it. No and even if you're going to be 20 minutes late, well, they know he coming, right? He coming. Non-judgmental. That's where that detachment comes in, that the being able to healthily detach, because, man, it's easy to be like, you a crash dummy. You're acting like a goddamn crash dummy. Right? That's not what they need to hear. Right? Not in that moment. That might be something you say over dinner when y'all laughing. You just act like a crash dummy, fool. Right? Patience and understanding, critical, we know. Open communication, support, and resources. You gotta have support and resources. Teams. And I wanna just put a pin in Mando. Man, not recommended. Mando. 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 Foster a sense of safety. Create a comfortable environment. That's our job. Think about it. Somebody said, like our kids, our own kids. This is the vulnerable part. Can I be transparent and talk about my faults, fears, challenges, failures? Right? We love to talk about how we took the hill. Can we talk about how we lost some soldiers under our command? Right? Avoid giving advice. Just as said, explore solutions together. That's a critical piece. Avoid giving advice. Now, if you're asked for advice, great. And if you're going to provide direction, you should also provide an orientation within the context of how that direction is being provided. Because the world has changed. The things I give my son advice and guidance on oftentimes is pinned in my experience. And he looks at me like, what the hell are you talking about? The internet, I can know shit like that. Right? I'm like, damn, yeah. I mean, you know, and a big one is college, y'all. And my daughter went to college, graduated. My son is like, fuck college. And I have to go, because that's my orientation. I have to go, okay, this is a new thing. How do I encourage it without destroying his dream and his belief, I am going to be a billionaire in 10 years? Okay. But who am I to say he ain't right? I mean, there are people who've done that and ain't never been to college, right? Show genuine interest. Again, this is a good one, y'all. Ask about what they're interested in. Listen and hear and do something with that information. Celebrate small wins. Acknowledge and celebrate progress. Remember what I said yesterday, that example? I don't know whose it was and what city. I think it was. Well, that doesn't matter. Ain't nobody told me I was good at anything since I was in the 3rd grade. This is a 20-something-year-old dude. Right? Small wins. Build trust. Building trust is a gradual process. Prioritize a person's comfort and well-being and focus on creating a supportive, non-judgmental space for them. That's why that detachment thing is so critical. Not to be detached, but to be detached, you know, where you can listen, hear, guide. Okay. Open, effective communication. Who's done it? What does it look like? Somebody define for me how you see what is open and effective communication. Now you got some clues on the board, but yes, thank you.
Being transparent, getting an understanding, actively listening to the person that you're talking to, not having internal conversation while they're talking.
How do you fight that? Because that's something we all do. You know, many of us are already packaging our answer.
Yeah, I call it internal mind gardening.
Talk about that.
When you sit back and you pretty much don't want to hear it, you might know that what they're saying is bullshit, and you trying to get it up out of them. You know, you pretty much, me, I focus. You know, I say, you know, I'm a person that listens to every single word so that I can answer the question that's being asked of me or the information that's being told to me so I can analyze. So I'm constantly concentrating on everything. That I'm concentrating on their body language, the way they're moving, their eyes, their mouth, everything, so I don't miss them.
Yeah. How did you get there?
A lot of training.
Training, practice. Training and practice. Something we have to acknowledge, folks. Thank you. That's there. It's built in. I'm ready with my answer. I'm not even listening.
Being non-judgmental is key also.
Yeah.
Different type of characteristics of people, the way they communicate, the type of words that they use, their demeanor sometimes might be different or not how the other person is. So knowing how to gauge how people communicate is important too.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna throw a scenario at you. Tell me how you feel about this one. You're in the moment with a young man. He's 20 years old. And you've been trying and have successfully gotten this guy job after job after job. And he's not been able to keep the job. And he's got an excuse every time. But you love him and you know some connects. You're worried about your connects because you're sending folks a cat that just can't seem to do it right. And he shows up on this last job you got him where he's lost, and he says to you with a straight face, Devon. No, I'm not going to use me. I got to use it's just perfect. Martin, I know what you're going to say. I know, but look here, Martin, real talk. I believe that the reason I keep losing jobs is because I am the spirit of a former slave. And I'm just too damn tired of working. Hey, this is a real conversation, y'all. This happened. And he walked in the room with a straight face. And I'm sitting in this side chair with my mentor. And he says, real talk, I believe I'm the spirit of a former slave. And I'm exhausted. I'm just too tired to work. Now, wait a minute. See, Marlon, you can't do that, but I understand. Yeah, see, this is it, right? What are you going to do? Are you going to laugh? Now, I'll tell you what my mentor did, and he would admit it was not the right answer, but it was the answer in the moment. Nigga, please. That's just what he did. And then he went into a conversation with him. But it was like, and I'm sitting there going, I'm doing what you doing, Marlon. It was just so hard. I had to leave the room. But what do you do? What do you do? I love your answer. Acknowledging, hell of an answer.
Hell of a peach. Yeah, it's like, I mean, when it's effective in open communication, that was the most open communication that you can ever ask for from somebody, right? So me, in hearing that, I'd be so caught off guard, hey, hold on, sit down, let me process this shit for you. What the fuck did you just say? I might be convinced.
Yes. See, that's it right there. That's it. Right there. And I mean, even the language is perfect. So let me sit my ass down give me some time to process this shit. Because I have to tell you, after laughing, I went, damn, that was wow. And this shit was 20 years ago. I'm still thinking about it and still get the same from it. Right? But you said something that I hope we all heard. That was the most open communication you could get. For somebody to walk in and have the audacity to say that, what an opportunity. Will you see it? Sometimes we don't see it. And see, it may not be as funny or as crazy or as out there as that, but we got to have the same response. Let me sit back. Let me process that. And I mean, say that. Let me sit down with me and let me process what you just said. And being that here, I mean, the practice of being here, completely present, in the moment, focus your words, listening to every body language, everything. Right? It's where you are the clinician. You are sort of in therapist mode. It's processing and throwing stuff back at you. Hearing, what about this? Think about that. Not giving anything, just, hey, something you might want to think about. Right? Very important. And you got to practice. I mean, that was the key, because it's so easy to just be thinking about what you want to say. You're hardwired for that. And if you're not cognizant, and again, going into such conversations, it's tough when these conversations just happen, and more of them happen in the moment than not. But when you know you're going into a tough conversation, it's when you got to put yourself in a space. So for example, when my wife and I are going to talk about money and finances, I know I got to put myself in a certain mental space. And now it's about me being disciplined. Because see, what I know it's going to be a tough conversation. I just don't know what I'm going to hear coming out of her mouth. Right? Right? And finances is one of them conversations that happen in marriage. Kids, another one of those conversations in marriage. Right? We bring two different styles of engagement to that. Obviously, I'm right and she's wrong. I'm the professional. I know you are. And she's going to tell you, I heard that shit too. He said that shit to me. But you get it what I'm saying. You got to put where you can. That's where the practice is. Where you can and you know it's coming, practice, get there. Because the more you do it, the more you're ready when it just comes.
They hate having conversations with me. I ain't gonna let it slip.
Yeah. Right, practice. You know, I used to tell my son all the time, your mother is practice. Your mother is your practice. So figure it out. And now he's like, damn, I should have listened, Pops. Yeah, I told you.